a gentleman here that I've known for, I don't know, 20 years maybe? No?
Yep.
When I first met him, didn't know much about him. Over the years, became a Facebook friend of yours, and I've learned a tremendous amount about her. Let me just say by telling you, this is the most inspiring human being I have had the pleasure and the privilege to know personally. I read a lot of books and stuff. This gentleman I know personally. And I thought, how I was going to introduce this guy. How I'm going to introduce this guy. So I solicited some people, Scott. And I got some good feedback. Rick gave me some feedback. His boss, by the way, he works for Forklifts in Des Moines, which has been a dealer for Clark since 1975.
1976, April 1st.
I apologize. Wow. Second generation, almost third generation now.
We're working on passing the baton.
We're getting there. And he's their CFO, their Chief Financial Officer. He works for Mr. Rick Radcliffe. So I solicited Mr. Rick Radcliffe for advice on how to introduce this man. And he didn't have much. I mean, he really didn't. He was baffled for words. And he gave me somebody who I'd like to read your introduction.
Okay.
Can't see it, but a few titles for Mr. Scott Mills. He is a husband, a father, son, brother, friend, provider, protector. He's an Army veteran in the 11th Infantry. He was the Soldier of the Year. He's an avid runner. And when I say avid, I mean avid. He's the Drake Relays champion. I assume you were younger. Drake is a college in Des Moines. He's ran the Des Moines Marathon every year for 18 years.
This will be the 18th in a couple weeks.
He's one of 5 people that have completed every one to this point. In total, he's competed in over 50 marathons. 50. He ran a leg in the coast-to-coast $1 million marathon. I don't know, I assume it's 26 miles.
That one was 32.
I apologize, 32 miles.
I got
By the way, either one is more than
I got
life,
lost.
so.
Long story.
He's a 5-time national champion geocacher. And I'll let him tell you if he wants to tell you what geocaching is. It's pretty amazing. He's a 6-time
RAGBRAI
finisher. You know, Jesse knows what that is. He's also run the Mag Ride, which is a friend of his, the Mills Awesome Great Boozer Run Across Iowa. I'm sure he'll talk a little bit about Mr. Steve Boozer. He's the Polk County Conservation Volunteer of the Year, twice. His project right now is running a mile in every community in Iowa. There's 1,200 of them, and I think you're at 402.
411.
411. It was a busy week. It was a busy week.
You ran to the airport this morning.
Could be. I can't say enough about this wonderful man and the honor I get to call him my husband. This is from your wife, Carrie. He wears his heart on his sleeve and will give you the shirt off his back. There is nothing he would not do for you. Having cancer has taught him to be a better person. He lives his life to the absolute fullest and strives to make every day count. He's a 5-time cancer survivor. How old is that?
48. Sit down.
He's an amazing man. He's on my Facebook. What did you do 2 weeks ago?
I did a adventure race.
Adventure race where he threw tomahawks, biked.
Biked 5, ran 3, paddled 6, and then I was the only one of 3 that could build a fire with flint and stone in the rain.
With flint and stone and the rain.
My dad would have disowned me if I had not done that.
So, to give you a little bit of the perseverance part of our meeting, I'll give you Mr. Scott Mills.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, I've got some notes here, but I can talk. Thank you, Mr. Dalkey, very much. And thank you, Clark, for having me. I appreciate you guys inviting me to come down here tonight to speak to y'all. How many of you guys have bucket lists? By show of hands. All right, about half, about half. Let's look at that list that Mr. Dalkey read again. I think I got a copy of it, maybe. All right, the first two, husband, father, by choice. I married the pick of the litter, and she is my rock. Father, also by choice, with my better half. Son, brother, you're born automatically one. If you have a sibling, you're a brother. Friend. I think I'm a friend. I can be a friend to anybody. I could talk to a fence post for 60 minutes, and that guy would be my best friend after that hour. The next two, provider and protector, that's something that was given to me, and I didn't know that until Carrie told me, and that's quite the honor. And that is quite the honor for someone to give you those two titles. I didn't go out and seek them. It's just what I did. It was what I was taught, and that's what I went and did. There was no plan. It just happened. Hard work. Army veteran, that's also a choice. 11 Bravo, so I'm an infantry soldier. That's a young man's game. 8 years in the Iowa Army National Guard as an infantry soldier for the 2nd Mechanized out of Carroll, Iowa. I was a really good soldier, but I had a really bad attitude. And I have a regret that I had a bad attitude, because I was really good at being a soldier. I mean, if you needed someone to go kill people, back then I was your guy. So unfortunately, I was very good at it. Avid runner, and also a 5-time cancer survivor. That's the last on the list. And we all said that Carrie wrote this, and I would not be half the man without her. But there's not times where I'd wake up in the middle of the night and she's right there with a pillow over my head. So it's not always a bowl of cherries. And it's sometimes my fault. Okay, it's always my fault why that pillow was almost over my head. This is my bucket list. I'm going to get this prop here. There's not to do, it's to done. Like Nike says, just go out and do it. It takes some planning to do everything, but don't have this pie in the sky list. Just go out there and get after it. And you have to be passionate about it. What didn't you hear Rick say?
We ran across Iowa in 13 days.
10 days, but who's counting? What didn't you hear on that my list of accolades? A job, a career. I decided early on as a young man that I would never let that define me as a person. That's pretty impressive. Graduated cum laude, CPA, CFO by the age of 29, pretty decent. But I never want to have that define me. I wanted to be my passion to define me. What am I going out and getting after and doing crazy? When we got diagnosed with cancer, and you have to use the plural pronoun, it's we, me and Carrie, my kids. If you're lucky enough, your parents, your grandparents, your friends, your in-laws. They all have a vested interest in your survival, whether you make it or not. So when we did that, Carrie would send out these letters to the people on this email list saying, hey, this is what's going on with Mills. This is what he's going to do. These are the treatments, and this is the prognosis. What I would do, I would send out a letter after that, and I started calling it the silver linings from the patient. And what, for me, it was a type of mental medicine that helped me get my stuff together. And ultimately, it became a history of what happened in the last 7 years. It's the silver linings that my kids now have a nice written history of what happened in that period. So I'm going to tie those two things together. I kind of jumped ahead of as far as the silver linings with the patient, but I wanted you guys to know where I was going with this. I'm going to read to you one of these. I've written 94 silver linings, and they're all up on our website, blah, blah, blah. But this one's about passion. Bear with me. Do I have a, I'm going to go over here. So I can, I'll come up behind the podium, but I need some stuff to rest my papers work. So this one was the 48th one that I wrote. It's called Pass the Passion. As a father, I'm far from perfect, but never from lack of effort or attendance though. Carrie and I are at all the events and push our kids, all three of them, Cole, Morgan, and Jess to get involved. I fall down, but I pick myself up, and I think it's this that has the biggest impact on my 3 kids. I take my role very seriously, and it shows. It's the best life lesson I could give to my kids, pass the passion. They know if I'm doing something, it's 6,000% and 120 miles an hour with my hair on fire, and I love that. They wouldn't say it to you. By their actions, they've learned that lesson. So there's nothing more satisfactory, and I'm going to lose it a couple times tonight, guys. That when you know that you've tried to teach your children something, and you can see they learned it, that tells you, you know you did it right, that you were succeeded. So here's a proof of the point. In the summer of 2015, I took my daughter Morgan and her best friend Carly to the One Direction concert in Kansas City. Originally, I was going to go, and she bought the ticket. She was down there front row. She loved her One Direction. But Carly replaced me, and so I was just the chauffeur to take him down to Arrowhead. But at the last minute, I decided, hey, I'll go in. So I went and got a ticket. And man, I'm glad I got a ticket. I'm too young for this, but do you guys remember the Ed Sullivan Show, black and white TV? And they would bring out Elvis or the Beatles, and every female in the studio audience would lose their mind, and the noise was deafening. But on that hot July night in Arrowhead, there was 50,000 females from ages 8 to 68, and when those boys from 1D came out, they lost their mind because they were so passionate about One Direction's music. And I got to sit there and just smile at how much joy they were getting out of this, and it's something simple as that. And it was just because I went and bought a $25 nosebleed ticket. And then there was another silver lining that came on top of that silver lining. You know, when you're a kid, you're growing up from age 13 to 23, and you have that music, usually in your summer, and when you hear that on the oldies stations now, it takes you right back to that time of what you were doing. Well, now, when I hear One Direction music, it takes me back to that loud, screaming crowd and how much joy they were giving. I got goosebumps. Do things in your life that gives you goosebumps. So when you're telling the story later on and you're reliving that memory in your mind, you give yourself goosebumps. So that was the one past the passion. Now we said that I was the 5-time cancer survivor, and it was last. It's last for a reason, because it'll never be my lead dog. It'll be something else, but I can't say that word because I promised Mr. Dalkey no foul language. In actuality, for the record, I'm a 6-time cancer survivor. And the 6th cancer doesn't have a cure. It's personality cancer. It doesn't affect me, it affects all my friends, my closest friends. So joke's on them. So I never lead with the cancer stuff. We talk about it at the end, and even here it came later. So I got another question for you guys. I'm going to pick on a few of you. What is your favorite time of year? Fall. Greer, what's your favorite time of the year? Fall. Sorry, they still play football in Nebraska? Okay, just checking. Go Hawks. Sir, what's your favorite time of year? Summer. Okay. My favorite time of summer, my favorite time of year is that time between New Year's Day, that's the last holiday you get, and Memorial Day. That's a long 4 months with no time off. It's a grind. So right before, spring's come and we're almost at summer, almost at Memorial Day weekend, that's my favorite time. So picture this. I'm in my favorite time of year. Friday, May 11th, 2012, 2:30 in the afternoon. Radcliffe's probably not even the shop yet. He probably left. Probably didn't come in. Beautiful 76-degree day. Phone call rings. This is Mills. I had a scan earlier in the week. It's the surgeon calling me and telling me the results of the scans. Yes, Mr. Mills, there's some masses in your body and we'll have to schedule for that biopsy. My schedule will call you. Click. So my favorite time of year, some guy just called me up, told me I'm going to die, and didn't even let me ask a question about it. So I get up, go out the front door, walk around 1625. I get to the back, and I stop right then and there. I said, this is it. I'm going to beat it, and I'm going to come from a point of positivity every day, because nobody wants to hear to a bellyache because they got cancer. Nobody. And that along with the chemotherapy and the prayers, is why I beat cancer. Because I made up my mind then and there that I drew the line in the sand. That's how we're going to do it. So we talked about silver linings. And another silver lining, and this is kind of morbid, I know what's going to kill me. Cancer, unless I get hit by a errant bus sometime. But there's no cure for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I'm okay with that. I'm 48. There's a lot of people who don't make it that far. There's a lot of people who have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. That means there's a lot of research and a lot of different treatments. So I'll be around a long time, but how much is enough time? A lot of my silver linings of the 94 I've written, probably 25 of them are about time. For me, I arbitrarily put 72. I'm going to count it. Why 72? Well, I'm 48 now, and I'm going to retire when I'm 62, and I want 10 years to screw off. That's enough. Anything more than that would be a bonus. Anything less than that, maybe I'll feel shortchanged. Maybe. Do you guys know how many weekends you have left in your lives? If I die at 72, I have 1,214 weekends left. That means I need to make each and every one count. Maybe a few more, maybe a few less. So we talked about cancer being a plural disease where everybody in your family has it. So we went to meet my cancer doctor, our cancer doctor, on May 28th, 2012. There's a cancer doctor in Des Moines, and he does a lot of cool stuff. They go and climb Mount Everest or Machu Picchu. So when they called me, the scheduler called me and said, hey, I want that Deming guy because he does all this cool stuff. And they said, no, you can't have him because you don't need radiation. I said, okay, fair point. But give me your youngest guy. That way if I die before he does, I don't have to retrain him. I don't want to retrain a new doctor is the point. I want your youngest guy. So his guy's name is Dr. Freeman. So it's May 28, 2012. Des Moines it's essentially retired, but they have a race called the Dam to Dam. It's a race that starts at the dam north of Des Moines, goes all the way down into Des Moines proper. And this tells you how much we didn't know about what was going on with the cancer thing. And I tell him, hey, I'm going to run a race on Saturday. Can I run that race? This is the Monday leading up to the week of the race. He goes, I don't know about that. What do you mean you don't know about that? How bad can it be? You don't know. He's a young guy. So he tells us, we think he's placating us. He says, well, if you have to have cancer, this is the one you want. Sure, I bet you should tell it to all the people, all your newbies. But it wasn't messing around. Once we saw the scans at the end of the culmination of treatment of the after and the before, my aorta and my renal arteries were totally encased in tumors. That's how non-Hodgkin's lymphoma sometimes kills you, is that it makes other blood flows and organs not work. So I took it seriously and I took it slow that Saturday. I still ran the race because I'm stubborn, but I took it slow and I took a lot of pictures. Have you guys ever heard of some guy called Zach Sobich? Zach Sobich. How about Tyler Trent? Tyler Trent? Okay, a couple of you. How about Casey O'Brien? Anybody? Casey O'Brien? It's a new one. These are all three young men. They all have one thing in common. They all have osteosarcoma, bone cancer for young people. These guys, Zach Sobich was famous. He wrote a song called Clouds. He was my inspiration when I was going through treatment. He passed away at 18. Tyler Trent, last year, Purdue superfan. The Purdue community embraced him. It was great, but he succumbed to the disease too. This year, we've got Casey O'Brien. He's a Minnesota Golden Gophers placeholder. So hopefully, they better get him into the game. Someone loses their helmet, he gets in there for one game. But look for him on ESPN. They've already done an expose on him. But all these guys are young guys, and they all left a legacy. Zach with his song Clouds, Tyler Trenton Purdue, and we don't know what Casey's going to do. You never know how much time you have. So here's another silver linings that come at you. Silver linings from the patient. This one's entitled, Thanks for Your Time. Now, in full disclosure, I copied this from somebody else. It's a little bit long one, and this is really a really good story. It's about time. It's about a man named Jack. It had been a long time since Jack had seen the old man. College, girls, career, and life itself got in the way. In fact, Jack moved clear across the country in pursuit of his dreams. There, in the rush of his busy life, Jack had little time to think about the past, and often had no time to spend with his wife and son. He was working on his future, and nothing could stop him. Over the phone, his mother told him, Mr. Belzer died last night. The funeral's Wednesday. Memories flashed through his mind like an old newsreel. He sat quietly remembering his childhood days. Jack, did you hear me? Oh, sorry, Mom. Yes, I heard you. It's been a long time since I've thought of him. I'm sorry, but I really thought he died years ago, Jack said. Well, he didn't forget about you. Every time I saw him, he'd ask how you were doing. He'd reminisce about the many days that you spent over on his side of the fence, as he put it, Mom told him. I loved that old house he lived in, Jack said. You know, Jack, after your father died, Mr. Belzer stepped in to make sure you had a man's influence in your life. He is the one who taught me carpentry, Jack said. I wouldn't be in this business if it wasn't for him. He spent a lot of time teaching me things he thought were important, Mom. I'll be there for the funeral. As busy as he was, Jack kept his word. Jack caught the next flight to his hometown. Mr. Belzer's funeral was small and uneventful. He had no children of his own, and most of the relatives had passed away. The night before he returned home, Jack and his mom stopped by to see the old house next door one more time. Standing in the doorway, Jack paused for a moment. It was like crossing into another dimension, a leap through space and time. The house was exactly as he remembered. Every step held memories, every picture, piece of furniture. Jack suddenly stopped. What's wrong, Jack? His mom asked. The box is gone. What box? There was a small gold box on top of his desk. I must have asked him 1,000 times what was inside, and all he ever tell me was the thing I value most. It was gone. Everything about the house is exactly how Jack remembered it, except for that box. He figured some Belzer family member had taken it. Now I'll never know what's so valuable to him, Jack said. I better get some sleep. I've got an early flight home, Mom. It had been 2 weeks since Mr. Belzer died. Returning home from work one day, Jack discovered a note in his mailbox. Signature required on a package. No one at home. Please stop by the main post office within the next 3 days, the note read. Early the next day, Jack retrieved the package. The small box was old and looked like it had been mailed 100 years ago. The handwriting was difficult to read, but the return address caught his attention. Mr. Harold Belzer, it read. Jack took the box to his car and ripped open the package. There inside was the gold box and an envelope. Jack's hand shook as he read the note inside. It read, upon my death, please forward this box and its contents to Jack Bennett. It's the thing I valued most in my life. A small key was taped to the letter. His heart racing and as tears filled his eyes, Jack eventually carefully unlocked the box. There inside he found a beautiful gold pocket watch. Running his fingers slowly over the finely etched casing, he unlatched the cover. Inside he found these words engraved. Jack, thank you for your time. Harold Belzer. The thing he valued the most was my time. Jack held the watch for a few moments, then he called his office and he cleared the appointments for the next 2 days. Why? Janet, his assistant, asked. I need some time to spend with my son and my wife. Oh, well, by the way, Janet, thank you for your time. And thank you for your time. We're not done just yet. Sorry about that, guys. So like your bucket list, it's important to make your time count. So now we're going to talk about the run across Iowa, which was in 2015, which we came up riding RAGBRAI in 2013. So there's a lot of bad ideas when you're riding across the state of Iowa. So if you're ever thinking about doing that, you're warned you may come up with really stupid ideas. So we came with the idea in 13, we did it in 15. We had 2 years to plan, 10 marathons in 10 days, 285 miles from Muscatine, Iowa to Council Bluffs on Highway 92. My friend, best friend Steve Boozer, I asked him, he took 10 days off work, and if you would talk to Steve, he would say, man, if you wouldn't have asked me, I would have died. I mean, he really wanted to do it. He'd already ridden RAGBRAI that year. So he rode on a fat tire bicycle from west to east in July. In August, we rode from east to west. It was just me and him, 2 guys. And man, it was a great adventure. Unfortunately, my best friend Steve Boozer, who was an Ames firefighter in Ames, Iowa, he passed away on March 17th, 2017 in a line of duty accident. I was given the honor to give his eulogy at a packed house, 1,000 people, all the firefighters, flags, fire trucks, bagpipes still make me cry. But I got to give the eulogy. And I made 3 promises that day. 1, like today, no swearing. I did it. 2, that I would never talk to Steve in the past tense. That's tough. I fall into it. It's tough when you're talking about historical things. And the 3rd was to him. Even though as I went through my cancer journey and I thought it was such a bad mamma jamba, he taught me I could be better. I could be better because he was always a teacher. He's my protector. He was a great friend. So it's not a day that I get up, I don't think about that 3rd promise I made. This year, as a tribute to Steve, I ran RAGBRAI west to east. Full disclosure, because I'm a little bit smarter than 2015, I ran in the mornings and I rode my bicycle in the afternoon. I want to thank you for all letting me speak tonight. And I'm done speaking, but I'll never stop making it count. That's been my mantra, make it count. Always find the positive. North of Des Moines, there's a camp along the Des Moines River as it comes in. And as you leave that camp, there's a sign that reads, do as much good as you can. And I live up to that mantra every day. And also that 3rd promise I made to my friend Steve Boozer. So thank you once again for listening to me. I'm sorry I got emotional. That's kind of the deal when you're dealing with passion. Godspeed, everybody.